So anybody who's been watching my channel for any length of time knows that I have pretty strong opinions about Black woman, Black femininity, and how it's being portrayed in media today. I am a firm believer that the stereotypes, the different tropes, the messages, the videos, the TV series, music videos, the influencers, like all of that stuff actually really does matter, and it does impact the day-to-day experience of Black women. Whether or not you want to agree or disagree, whether or not you want to listen to a Sukiana or a Glorilla or a Sexy Red and say, look, these are just artists, it's just art, it was whatever, no big deal, fine. But I think we have enough evidence to suggest and to see that people truly are moved and impacted by the stereotypes and by the media portrayals of other cultures, especially when they are not in relationship with other cultures. If you're a white person who only has been around white people, then you're going to draw upon what you've seen online or what you've seen in social media and television to try to come up with some idea of what Black people are like. People do that all the time. Whether they are aware of it, whether they acknowledge it, they do it all the time. And I was reminded of that today when I had a rather random and strange situation that just continued to remind me why I think it's so important to challenge these negative portrayals of Black women that are blasted everywhere. And also how these negative portrayals and assumptions about Black femininity do actually impact a day-to-day life. And so, for those of you who didn't know, make a long story short, I was walking around my neighborhood. Like I said, this is a chill, pretty safe neighborhood in the Bay Area. One of those kind of neighborhoods where like you're going to see more squirrels and deers than gunshots. It's just that. Farmers markets there. You see kids playing in the park. Like it's just a really quiet neighborhood, a lot of trails. So I'm just walking around minding my business, a routine walk. I wanted to get some sunlight in because it's been raining, right, for a couple of days. And an old random guy out of nowhere pulls up in his BMW as I'm clearly preoccupied listening to my music in my tracksuit and my sneakers, not trying to talk to nobody. He pulls up out of nowhere and tries to solicit sexual services. I was like, what? Like, what about me? What about me even remotely hints to being anything close to a sugar baby or a sex worker? Like I said, I'm in tennis shoes. I am in a tracksuit. I have big old headphones on. I'm clearly not trying to talk to anybody. I'm preoccupied looking at my phone. Like nothing says come. And then even if I was trying to be like that, like this is not the environment. Like this is not where I'm at in the Bay Area. This is not the part of the Bay Area where people go to do that. Like there are a ton of Black prostitutes, I'm not gonna lie, but not in this particular part. So like his behavior was just inconsistent with the way people act in that particular neighborhood. And so it just was strange. And I mean, I quickly told him, I'm like, I'm married, so no. And I mean, he drove off. Luckily, it wasn't anything crazy, but I'm like, what about him felt emboldened to do that when there is nothing about me that says, please come talk to me? And to me, it really came down to something simple, like me being a Black woman in that particular environment. It didn't matter if I was fully clothed. I probably could have had, I don't know, I could have been in a full-blown turtleneck, which by the way, there was also a time, a similar situation on ground. I was in the city, but similar situation where I'm in a turtleneck, y'all. I'm in a turtleneck. There's no breasts, there's no cleavage, there's nothing. I'm literally wrapped from head to toe. Turtleneck, boots. I think I got some tights on, but I am covered up from head to toe. And a dude comes up and tries to solicit some sexual services. And I'm like, what is going on, y'all? I remember I was in a group with some friends trying to go get some tacos after church. Similar thing. So my point is, my bigger point is, look, listen, whether or not folks want to agree or disagree, these portrayals and how people perceive you really does matter. You may not necessarily get it every single day, but there can be these little interactions, especially if or when you find your environment where you are surrounded by other races of people, where you are surrounded by other cultures. Because the way the Bay Area works, you have areas that are completely all Black, but then you have many areas that are diverse, and then you have many areas that are still all white, are still all affluent, and you see old money. And it's those little spaces or those little interactions where you'll have the microaggressions or people trying to be hecka nice, but then being like super racist. Like West Coast racism is that's its own breed. But anyway, so I wanted to talk a little bit about that, because that was just a reminder to me of how important, really, how powerful these messages are, whether or not we agree or disagree. Obviously, I shared this with you guys in the community tab, and I wanted to review. It says, shows how low they think a Black woman, yet a divester would be flattered. Listen, let me tell you, the fact that he was so bold to me shows me or makes me believe that he's done that before, and he's probably had success, because like I said, there was not one thing about me that even made it. And like, he literally had to like interrupt me. I was like, I had my headphones on and my head is like in my phone. I am clearly uninterested. Most people would have been like, she's not like, I didn't have energy. I didn't have open energy. So he came in there with some confidence. Like, I'm going to throw a couple $100s at her and that's going to change things. And part of me feels like he felt confident doing that because it's worked. And that's kind of the sad thing. Here it says, yet the divestors tell themselves how these men. Here's another one calling out divestors. Do they understand how they are being perceived when they do this stuff? P.S. I'm glad you're safe. Yes, I'm glad it was like not a bad interaction. And to be clear, like you're talking literally the middle of the day. I think it was like around 3 or 4 p.m. Like it's still super bright out. You walk and you're seeing kids like in the park. That's what was the crazy thing about it. I'm like, we're not too far from like an elementary school. Down the street, there's a park. Down the other street, there's another park. There's a little trail. Like this, like it wasn't those kind of environments where that kind of stuff would be happening. Or if it is happening, it's being handled like y'all are making arrangements online. Okay. And then meeting up in a, disclosed environment. Like you're not just trying to run up on somebody. Like people don't do that in this part of the area. People don't just like run up on people like that and try to solicit services. So yeah, so I'm glad that I'm safe. But again, I was just like, man, like people out here thinking I'm crazy, making a big deal out of some of these songs, and then lo and behold, something like this happens. Okay. Here's another one that says, it's sad, but that's how other races of men see Black women. It's been baked into American culture since American inception. Black people weren't brought here with good intentions. Bars. Anybody? Oh, wait, I think it continues. It says, it's crazy because as an African, I grew up seeing attractive Black women as potential partners or wives. The sexual exploitation of Black women wasn't something I recognized in my upbringing. Okay, so this is an African man coming in and noticing what's been going on here for some time. And yes, Black people obviously were not brought over here with good intentions like that. I mean, that goes without saying. Anybody who wants to dispute that doesn't know history. It says, now how much was he offering? He could have been a cop. That is also a very, 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 very good point. Now, let me tell you, and I'm not saying this is everybody's situation. This is not to undermine a situation, because I understand that there has been horrible situations and horrible examples of police brutality. But if I'm just being honest with my situation throughout the years overall has been pretty positive with cops. I have not had really any issues in any of the neighborhoods that I've lived with cops. Now, I know that has not been everybody's experience, so I acknowledge that. But I've actually had some be quite helpful, like stopping me and being like, hey, your taillight's off, like get it fixed. Or, hey, just, did you know this is broken? Like, just want to make sure you're fine. Or, so I've actually had overall pretty positive experiences. But I also know that's not everybody's experience. And I also know that in certain environments, it's just different, right? It's just different. And the experience has also changed. Like if I've been with my husband versus me being by myself, I've noticed that. Like me driving by myself, different versus if I'm driving and my husband's there. Like it is. I have noticed there being a pretty large difference. Again, it says he knew you weren't a pro. That was his way of degrading you and to remind you that no matter who you might think you are, Zaddy will always see you as a 3 or 4. You should have pulled out your phone and got him and his license plate and put him on blast. Man, like seriously. That interaction happened so fast. I mean, after he left, I was like, man, I should have got a video or something. This one says he forgot he wasn't in Kenya. If you know, you know. I thought, what do you mean? Let me see. I'm like, Kenya. Okay, so he actually expands, because this is not the first time I've heard Also, African men complaining about some of the same issues that Black men in America, African American men have said, right? Where it's like, these women have like straight up white daddy worship issues, like for lack of a better term. I've heard some African men share the same sentiment. So I'm kind of curious. Okay, here it says, not a Kenyan, but Kenya was high on the list of places I wanted to visit when I bought into Pan-Africanism and was seeking a wife. I spent some time there and was appalled at how easy it was for old, filthy, and obviously bloke white men to roam around freely, picking up young Black women. Even Kenyan men treat them like gods. Interesting. As a Black man seriously seeking a wife at the time, it was terrible to be treated as an inconvenience and see them eyeing white men while I'm attempting to spark a conversation. Oof. I checked the boxes: 6'2", 219, in excellent shape, financially stable, educated, and respectful. Still, any kind of white man was a prize. And the Kenyan men can vouch for what I'm saying. Not all the continent is like this, but Kenya is a special place. Very, very, very interesting. Here's another. Okay, here's a Kenyan. It says, as a Kenyan living in Texas who goes back to Nairobi every year, I don't disagree nor fully agree with you. If you mean Mombasa, then you are 100% right. Nairobi is a different beast, where the women are mixed within each other. How you present yourself, regardless of race, will show in the outcome. You might draw out desperate university girls or wannabe socialites, or when you least expect it, just a nice girl who is usually out of the limelight and focuses on herself and work. Interesting. I can't have much to say, honestly, about Kenyan women. I've never been to the country. I would like to visit one of these days for sure. So it's hard for me to weigh in on that because I just don't really know. But if any of you guys else have feedback, please be sure to do so. It's an interesting one. They've been bragging about how easy Black women are. Those Black women who make themselves readily available have given all Black women a rep for being easy and available to white men. It's really bad, so I am not surprised you had that experience. Sad indeed. So, y'all, there's plenty more comments there. I don't want to bore y'all reading every last one of them, but really ultimately my point was, when and if you see me critiquing or, observing or expressing concern about different trends or ideas that are being openly promoted in blackface by Black women, there's a reason for it. And there's just these moments. I'm coming as a Black woman in the Bay Area, one of the most diverse places arguably in the United States. Not, the cities in general tend to be diverse, but out here you'll see any and everything. And I've had the opportunity and be in all kinds of environments, live in all kinds of neighborhoods with all kind of different racial demographics, and interact with people of all different racial demographics. And even with that, you see people who are just as racist. It's like a West Coast racism. It's the whole, like, I'm not racist. I have an Asian wife and a Mexican gardener. Okay. And I slept with a Black girl 10 years ago, kind of racist, like them kind of people. But they're out here. It's a lot more subtle. It's a lot more, they try to be a lot more like sophisticated or nice with it, but it's just as sinister. Ultimately, it's like, who are you going to believe? Who are you drawing your value, your ethics, your morals, your sense of identity from? Who are you getting it from? If you're getting it from media representation, if you're getting it from the most popular trends, if you're getting it from these artists, these influencers, people who are hired from record labels to push certain ideas, you are, in my opinion, you're being lied to, and you are living way beneath your potential and value. Because they just want you to believe you're a hoe and a prostitute. That's what they want you to believe. And they want you to live up to every age-old stereotype that's been there for hundreds of years. In my opinion, the best way to really depart from those toxic and bad stereotypes is ultimately to have that solid relationship with the Most High. Get a solid understanding of who God says that you are. Spiritual foundation is key. And like I said, I like to draw inspiration from different Black women in the Bible, okay, and the different things that they did and the way that they were able to do things that literally impacted their generations, that literally impacted their community for generations to come. There are plenty of examples. Ruth the Moabitess, right? You have obviously the Queen of Sheba. You have the Shulamite, in the book of Song of Solomon's. You have Zipporah, the wife of Moses. There's plenty of stories there. There's plenty of examples of Black women in the Bible who actually had a rich powerful character who use their character and use their position to help empower their community. And to this day, thousands of years later, are still being an inspiration for people. So there's obviously a great capacity that Black women have to empower, to build up, to encourage, to shape culture for the power of good. It's there. History speaks to this. And then even if you look at our own American history, the Ida B. Wells of the world, the Zora Neale Hurston, Frances Cress Welsing, Harriet Tubman. I mean, just different women who, in their own way, in their own industry, were powerful and did things to help empower the community. And so there are examples out there already of what it can be to be fully yourself, be fully who you are, fully love your culture and fully love being a woman, and use that for the good versus just following into all of the negative stereotypes that have been said about you since day one in this country. But ultimately, it's like you get to decide what you want to believe. You can believe what God said about you and who you can be in your potential, or you can sit here and just feed on all of the media brainwashing that's going around and, I guess just be open to solicitation, even if it comes from a man who is twice your age. But anyways, I mean, those are my thoughts, y'all. What do you think? Do you agree or do you disagree? I don't think being Black makes me a prostitute. Some people do. But what do you think? Let me know. Leave your questions, comments, concerns in the comment section below. Thank you so much for listening. If you've gotten this far, and we'll talk later. Bye.